Call of Duty multiplayer has had a huge fan base for 16 years now since COD 4 was released, and we all have a bunch of memories thinking back to our favorite games, giving us a bunch of nostalgia. And one of the most important parts about multiplayer that made or break it was the maps. Did they play well? Did they look good? Were kill streaks good on them? I could go on and on, but today we're going to be specifically looking at small maps. What are the top 10 small maps in Call of Duty history? You may be wondering how I determined what counted as a small map. I didn't go and measure out all the maps. What I did was actually go through all the CODs and then pick out my favorite maps, and then I checked the COD wiki description of their size to see if they qualified. The maps had to exclusively be described as small on the COD wiki to be eligible, which eliminated maps like Comeback from Advanced Warfare, and as many of you know, my favorite map of all time, Firing Range, unfortunately didn't qualify. And with that in mind, here are the top 10 small maps in Call of Duty history. 10th, Dome from World at War. It was the smallest map in this game by a large margin. It had quite a unique design from a lot of the other maps that made this list. First off, it wasn't a 3-lane map, but still manages to have pretty good flow with a fairly open concept that still allows players to move because there's debris over it, broken buildings, and even more cover as you move. The design pretty much broke this map into two sections, with the courtyard outside that was on lower ground and mainly used to try and flank around the other team's spawn, and then the building where most of the fighting happened. There was nothing better than getting dogs here. This map was a great change of pace from the rest of World at War being a little bit slower pace, which is why I think this is such a beloved map in the Call of Duty community. 9th, Shoot House from Modern Warfare 2019. This is a game that had some terrible launch maps, but Shoot House came in to save the day after the game was out for about a month, and a lot of players would only hop onto Modern Warfare 2019 to exclusively play Shoot House or Shoot the Ship 24/7. We go back to the Call of Duty classic 3-lane map style, and in the middle of the map there's two power positions. The first one was taking over the only high ground on the map, with the second story of the building that stretches the entirety of the map from side to side, where many players like to camp, but it was very manageable to beat without being a major issue. The only true con that this one had was the second power position, with the middle having people hop up on walls and mount their weapons, making it impossible to ever safely cross through the middle portion of this map, and made capping the B flag and domination terribly difficult in a bad way. Mounting weapons completely removed the recoil and gave the player a nasty head glitch as well. It was just a bad choice of design in that section with the mechanics of the game, but the rest of the map played great with both side lanes and spawn areas that allowed this one to sneak onto the end of the list. Right now, leave a comment for what you think the top 3 maps are going to be. I'm curious what you legends think. 8th, Detroit from Advanced Warfare. This was the best map from the very first Advanced Movement game. It feels even smaller than it is because of how fast you can move with the exosuit. Unlike most of the Advanced Warfare maps, this one actually didn't have too much verticality on it, with the exception of being able to jump up on things like containers that you wouldn't normally be able to do in most Call of Duties, which I personally enjoy because I think verticality is rarely done correctly on COD, and one of the very few examples where it works well is Favela from Modern Warfare 2. And with Detroit, it also wasn't a 3-lane map in the normal sense, because the 3 lanes on it were connected to each other instead of being parallel. Each lane turns a different direction, giving the map a unique flow where pretty much everything is funneled directly into the middle of it. It was just a fun, fast-paced map that worked well with the speed of the game. These videos take a lot of work to make as a one-man crew, so please leave a like and comment if you're enjoying it. And make sure to subscribe for more Call of Duty polls and rankings, as well as helpful and entertaining Warzone content. And don't forget, I'm going to do a face reveal at 100,000 subscribers if we get it by the end of the year, so please hit that button. 7th, Flak Tower from World War II. This is my personal favorite launch map from this Call of Duty, just edging out London docks. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. This is Nuketown set in Germany during World War II. It has an extremely similar design. We have 2 buildings with high ground facing each other in the middle of the map, with 2 side lanes and having the spawn areas be directly behind the central buildings. Sledgehammer basically saw how popular Nuketown was and remade it without directly copying it. It's kind of like Strike Zone and Call of Duty Ghost, that was a remake of Dome from Modern Warfare 3, but with slight altercations. But World War II was a little bit more unique and less of a direct copy. The area between the 2 buildings is much smaller than Nuketown's, and one of the side lanes has high and low ground where Nuketown is just perfectly flat. But either way, Flak Tower was a blast to play on. 6th, Shipment from COD 4 and World War II. Some of you might have thought this one should be higher on the list and was probably in some of your guys' top 3s. COD 4 did make a very simplistic and chaotic map that you wouldn't think has many design elements contributing to the gameplay, way because it feels pretty much out of control, but then you see how much worse they've made the map in a couple of the remakes and see that the positioning of the crates and spawns make a huge difference in how it plays. We get more of a controlled chaos on Call of Duty 4 and World War II shipment because the crates block some lines of sight, helping create some areas that are a little bit safer to spawn in. Even with these elements, the map is just a perfect square that makes it the smallest 6v6 in COD history. It isn't the best designed on the list, and probably isn't as well designed as a couple of the maps below it, but it's just simple, fun, fast-paced gameplay Call of Duty is known for. And it was the first ever small map COD created, and it is an all-time classic for all of these reasons listed above. Fifth, Hijacked from Black Ops 2. Fighting on a super yacht sounds like a good time to me. This is another classic 3-lane map, but with a little bit of a twist. It has an underground area to move from one building to the other. It was not a highly traversed area in comparison to the rest of the map, but was certainly used every single game to get into the other team's spawn area. So, like many of the other small maps, there's going to be two main, two-story structures, and in the middle of them, there's going to be a small open area with a shower right in the middle of it, which is where the B flag location is in Domination. And a fun fact that I don't think a lot of people realized is that the hot tub on the side of the map actually has a vent underneath it that allowed players to throw grenades through it into the boiler room below deck, and that was mainly only useful for hardpoint, where teams would actually go into the area and stay. And this was one of the most popular maps of all time for good reason, but I don't think I hear enough people talk about it. So here's some love for Hijacked, the best super yacht in Call of Duty. Fourth, Dome for Modern Warfare 3. COD developers love calling maps Dome. Why is that? But back into it. This one has been remade many times, but like Shipment, they do like to change the design up slightly with Strike Zone and Genesis. Then we also have a straight remake in the latest Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2022. And this one has three main areas of combat. First, by and around the dome. Second, the building on the opposite side where the B flag is for Domination, and the third one is the long slender lane in between those other two areas. They all fight very well with multiple ways to enter the locations, and this map does a really good job of incorporating just a little bit of verticality, with one side of the map being on higher ground than the other, and then the ability to climb up on the side of the dome to have a great vantage point over the entirety of the map, but you have very little cover, which makes it a very balanced location, being high risk, high reward. Modern Warfare 3 just doesn't get a lot of love for its maps, but I think they had a handful of really great ones, with Dome being one of them. Third, Rust from Modern Warfare 2, where all the 1v1s happened. This is Infinity Ward's second small map, and they made it a perfect square just like Shipment, but they did make it a little bit bigger and added some major verticality in the middle, with the ability to run up on the pipes to get to a second story, or climb the ladder to the top of a flat platform that people love to try and camp on with grenade launchers. The extra space on this one allowed for spawns to be a bit better and for more flanking plays. This map was still constant action and chaos, but had the added benefit of getting crazy kill streaks like the Harrier, AC-130, Pavlo, Chopper Gunner, and Nuke that just gave this map even more excitement. Another big change this had from Shipment is that it also supported far more weapon types to be used effectively on it. Of course, it was still close range oriented, but with the map being expanded a bit vertically, it allows for mid-range weapons to be used super effectively, and quickscoping in private matches was absolutely incredible on Rust, and it will forever be remembered by the COD community as the 1v1 map. Second, Combine from Black Ops 3, the ultimate small map for advanced movement Call of Duty. It does a great job of utilizing the double jumps to push the central high ground and using the wall runs to flank around one side of the map. Then once again, it does have a great B flag in Domination where it's in the middle of the bridge. It's a 3-lane map again where every single one always seems to have some action. One lane is long and narrow with a wall up on the side, so all the fighting is going to be in front of you, and it can be used to flank to the other team's spawn without using advanced movement. So if you don't like using it, you don't have to, and that's what Black Ops 3 did great with its advanced movement. The middle lane is going to be the most open with the two main buildings facing each other, and the last lane is going to be the one where you use the wall running for flanks. This is basically Hijacked, but it was made for advanced movement. Combine needs to be talked about more and remembered by more of the community as one of the best maps of all time and as a top tier small map. Quickly, I'd like to give a few honorable mentions with DOS House, V2, and Desolation. And of course, some honorable mentions for the maps that didn't quite qualify, with Firing Range my favorite, Scrapyard, and Comeback. And now it's time for the #1 small map in Call of Duty history, Nuketown from Black Ops 1, originally. It was so good that they remade it for every single Black Ops game ever, with it most recently being in Black Ops Cold War. When you think of Call of Duty, what is the first map that pops into your head? Let me know in the comments, and I suspect a lot of you will say Nuketown, as it is arguably the most iconic map in the entire series. It is based on a typical 1950s US suburb to show the effects of a nuclear weapon on a residential area, which is why at the end of every single match, a nuke will go off as they show you the scoreboard. What this map does differently than most is that it's symmetrical, with both spawns and houses making the playing field even with no advantage on which side your team is going to spawn on. Just like with most of these small maps that we love, it has two main, two-story buildings in the middle that face directly into each other. We have a small spawn area behind those buildings and a bunch of cover in the middle of the map that you can use as you try to push to the other team's spawn. At the end of the day, Nuketown was great in every single game mode. It could be sticks and stones, demolition, search and destroy, domination, or team deathmatch. It didn't matter. It was going to be a fantastic time every time. And I loved playing quickscope private matches with my friends where we would set up teams and search and destroy with 3 lives per player in Black Ops 1, and it was probably the most fun I've ever had playing Call of Duty. Would you guys make any changes to my list? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you're also going to enjoy this video for my Every Call of Duty series. Peace.